Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties as we figure out the live stream and the in-person presentation. Thank you for attending here. Thank you for those who are attending through the live stream. My name is Lori Ray. I'm the school social worker for the elementary buildings here in Burlington. Um, I'm honored to introduce Dr. Mervin Langley. He's been gracious enough to do these presentations for me for the last 12 years, volunteering his time and expertise. Tonight, he's going to talk about helping children and school staff encourage more positive behaviors in defiant children. He has an extensive knowledge base and background. He earned his PhD, worked as a research coordinator for the South African National Council on Alcoholism. He was associated with a major research study to motivational and coping strategies through the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago. He's published multiple journal articles and book chapters in the US, Spain, and South Africa. He currently provides therapy to children and adolescents through Aurora Behavioral Health on a variety of mental health disorders like ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, depression. He helps parents and children learn, understand, utilize different treatment strategies for their particular mental health needs. What he's gonna talk about today is defiance. It's a common problem. It's normal. It's part of child's development. We see it as parents, as school staff through, talking back, verbal refusing, arguing, ignoring directions, failing to comply, and tantrums. Defiance can also be a child who's doing something really, really slowly after you've asked them to do it. But it's that extreme defiance or the defiance that persists for a prolonged period of time or interferes with school performance or family and friend relationships. That's when it, can be a problem and maybe needs some further assessment. Tonight, Dr. Langley will share about what defiance is, how school and parent responses can impact defiant behavior in kids, and what strategies can be helpful in reinforcing more of those positive behaviors while not reinforcing the negative ones. Questions are welcome throughout the presentation. In the live stream, it sounds like the chat is working and someone is monitoring that. So if you want to type your questions in the chat in person, free to raise your hand to ask your question. For those of you on the live stream, in the email that I sent, if there are any sound issues, you can text me so we can try to address them. And then also in the email that I sent to everyone, there's a Google Drive with all the handouts that you have in front of you. There is an evaluation form or a link to an evaluation to complete online. Your feedback is important for us for future presentations to just kind of figure out, what people have felt is helpful, not helpful, those types of things. If you're looking for a restroom, there is one right outside the door. And I guess with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Mervin Langley.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you all being here. It's really nice to see everyone here and some old friends. So a couple of points. First of all, I do not know these children, so I did not have to get consent to use their pictures in case anybody wondered. I thought about that afterwards. Some things I want to say, first of all, that a lot of times people, when we talk about a defiant child, they feel a sense of shame. There's a sense that their parents have failed or something like that. And just so you know, there is no parent who has not made a mistake in their parenting, including me. And I will point that out later. A mental mistake that I made in my own parenting. Even though parents may play a role in some ways to the development of defiant and irritable behaviors, they're almost always, in my opinion, ready to acknowledge they can change, and a change in parenting practices can yield rapid results, very rapid results, in fact. The problem is maintaining those changes, so that's what we'll talk about today. Child or children in this presentation means in the age of 3 and 17, and or even older. The point of it is that there has to be, I don't want to change the word all the time, so just realize that we may have to change the approach sometimes. And the focus is really on what you would do as a parent rather than what I would do with the child. So that would have to be a whole nother separate thing. So here's how this works. So, and this is a model that I'm putting together that I hope will include these three components. And the way that I plan to do this, and I've been talking to Aurora about doing parent groups. We have to figure out how they would be billed. So these would be groups of parents who could work together, get support from each other, and then work through these stages. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just what are these behaviors, and secondly, we'll talk about a way to begin to start building positive behaviors. How would we do that? And then once we've done that, we want to help the children to regulate the emotions that are behind those behaviors. And then finally, to draw out your child's own motivation so that it becomes more intrinsic rather than reward focused. So if a child is doing certain behaviors because he is being rewarded or praised for them, that's great. But if the reward is coming from the inside, that's even better. So that's what we will be working on. So let's start with irritable and defiant behaviors and what they are and how we conceptualize those. So oppositional defiant behavior, and I don't refer to it as a disorder, and you will see why, is characterized by a pattern of non-compliant, angry, hostile, and defiant behaviors. And these behaviors put children at risk for more serious and stable conditions later, like conduct disorder, and ultimately even antisocial personality disorder in adulthood. So is ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, is it a categorical diagnosis or is it a pattern of behavioral and emotional maladjustment? And in my opinion, it's a pattern of maladjustment. I don't think it merits the term, the idea of a diagnosis, because of a categorical diagnosis, because there's no brain basis for it. Now, some studies have argued that there is a brain basis, but those studies have been weak and small, and they have not been replicated. So in my opinion, these are behaviors, and we should conceptualize them as such. They're, as Laurie said, they're found in most children in some way as a developmental feature. And the difference is in terms of their intensity, the frequency, and the duration of these behaviors. Remember those three words: intensity, frequency, duration, because that's how you know when something is changing. Usually, one of those things will change first: frequency, duration, or intensity. And you may not see changes in the other two, and so you may think there is no change occurring, but there is change occurring. Now let's look at irritability and defiance. So new research, and here we're looking at this concept of oppositional defiant disorder, which I argue is not a disorder, but for purposes of just understanding the research, two primary dimensions have been found: irritability and defiance. And these differentially predict internalizing and externalizing behaviors. So in the case of irritability and defiance, they seem to predict the development of anxiety and depression in kids. So as they get older, as they get into the teenagers, you may see more anxiety and depression in these kids. So behaviors like crankiness, touchiness, temper tantrums, kids who are easily annoyed and angry, predicts a more internalizing kind of process. Defiance, arguing with adults, defying or refusing to comply, deliberately annoying people, blaming others, headstrong, defiant, and vindictive, spiteful behaviors and attitudes represent the defiance component. And these are predictive of more externalizing behaviors, such as hitting, striking out, stealing, shoplifting, those kinds of things. In some cases, defiance may also include a cluster of stable behavioral traits referred to as callous unemotional traits. Now, these callous unemotional traits are scary, and they are characterized by blunted affect, a lack of empathy and remorse, uncaring behavior, and disregard for things and well-being, as well as proactive aggression. So what I mean by proactive aggression is this is the child who doesn't get angry, but yet acts in aggressive. There's an association between anticipated guilt, wrongness, judgment. It's levels of traits. So in other words, may not perceive the rudeness, and they may not make this judgment. They may not feel guilty. So this is concerning. Now, this this here in it as unemotional is the result of able to identify and clear. So inability to access the emotion rather than being able to make speak judgment. So that's a good thing because emotion coaching, the three components that we will look at today, has been found to soften callous underlying and in fact some of the findings that very extreme developing. Now, incidentally, health and emotional traits were thought to be really situation where 50 people and that's very we never thought and I've seen change in kids with but we mean something with starting to build behavior begin because change as quickly as possible to those I tend to teaching behavior and not my behavior. So very often in the literature you'll read about something but I'm not sure that either they be cooperative something in a 16 or a 17-year-old you want them to so that is derived from something called applied behavior analysis, which is a classic operating approach. What helps you change behavior and what you know. So first, punishment not an elimination superhits or something about behavior punishment, spanking quickly and the you know the classic I've talked a thousand times to you know so in fact serve reinforce when punished the child they respond to what they're doing, but it doesn't and will then the changes to occur with and it's an interactional pattern. Punishment focuses on a behavior, not a very because we temporarily it doesn't teach new habits. It doesn't teach and the child gets and 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 define and all counts great. So the goal new teach behavioral habits. Many feel they're are manipulative. And know that manipulation is something that the child is conscious. Timeout. Timeout is about about what you did. Next, the hydraulic model that means kids blow off some and points and don't practice. With reinforced practice, they do. So we're going to look at that in a bit. So it's on the work of Alan Kasdan. You could zero parenting and kind of class, but you do it in grade, give you a grade. So let's find negative behaviors because you are reactive behavior. Your child does something, if you told you to stop doing that, it's, so we want to get active and what, what is the behavior? So focusing, I negative. He was, and he's years old. So not taking turns of grabbing sister, the positive is nice, opposite of that. But you want to see, not the behavior you want to see. And that kind of don't respond to be proactive. And I would go and the frequency of one behavior, you're on the right track. If week or the week later, and then another, you have started to, which means it's beyond, but you at least need I'm the focus there on the child's parenting. Let's see. So, sorry about that. Happens so we use positive reinforcement. Now, the thing with punishment, if we can get away from using punishment, we're in a much better place. Now, some people argue that we don't need to do towards either. We need to really be working on things like restorative justice, and I think that for that, but getting from punishment, reward, perhaps even praise, affirmation. So we'll talk about that. Positive reinforcement is a that happens after a behavior that is likely to increase the likelihood of that behavior occurring again in the future. So punishment be a reinforcer? Can that be a positive reinforcement? Yes, it can. Punishment can be a positive reinforcement. It reinforces that kind of reinforcement in the behavior and focus on the target behavior, which is the positive opposite. Negative reinforcement is the removal of something that increases the likelihood of behavior occurring again in the future. If you get in your car and you don't have a seatbelt on and it starts going ding, 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 and it doesn't, and then it gets louder, faster, what do? Yes, so that's negative reinforcement. Stop the behavior. Put your seatbelt on as quickly as you can. Otherwise, you smash the car. but yeah, that is a negative reinforcer. The most important part of reinforcement is in fact parental praise. Parental praise is enormously powerful, but it has to be done right. For little kids, you have to be effusive. You have to be animated in giving that praise. And for older kids, you have to communicate respect and the worth of the person and shift to affirmation. Praise has to happen frequently. It has to be quick. So if you praise a child for being good during the day at 5 o'clock, that kind of praise isn't helpful. It has to occur within minutes of the behavior occurring. So there's a clear connection between the behavior that is being praised and the praise. The praise has to be labeled. It has to be, I am so proud of you for for hanging your coat when you got home. So labeling the praise. It's a specific action the child did so that they can make the connection in their mind. A token system can be used, by the way, and there's a handout on how to use a token system, but I'm increasingly convinced that the problem with the token system is that the parent believes that because they're giving the tokens are causing the change. It's the rewards, the rewards, the tangible rewards like candy or an outing or something that is producing the change. And that is a mistake because what is actually producing the change is the parent's praise. The purpose of token economy is not so much for the kids, it's for the parent. Because when you give the token, you also say, that's really good. I like how you did that. And that praise is what is going to change the behavior, not actually the token or the ultimate reward. Do positive reinforcers lose their effectiveness over time? Probably not. That's the thing about praise. It is a conditioned reinforcer, which means that it's attached to a bunch of other reinforcers. So it tends not to lose its effect the way that some other reinforcers might, like food or tangible reward. Praise is very powerful. So, by the way, one of the ways that I feel doing praise is helpful. Remember, I said what we want to do is change our behavior. Not we're not focusing on changing the child's behavior. We're changing our behavior so that we are delivering the praise using what I call the penny system, or just something like this. So just put 10 pennies in your right hand pocket. Actually, that's your left pocket. And every time you deliver a piece that is labeled, and you make eye contact with your child, and you use your, you have a nice, pleasant voice, and you touch the child gently, and you're giving a really nice one of those pennies and move over to the right hand side. And start out by putting 10 pennies in there and see if you can get up to 20 a day. So you are rapidly trying to increase the number of reinforcers you are doing for positive opposites. Obviously, sometimes you have to you have to help those positive opposites to happen, and to do that you have to do reinforced practice. In other words, the child has to have lots and lots of practice, and by doing the behavior over and over and over again, it becomes established as a habit. So it's kind of like you do the behavior, get rewarded. Do the behavior, get rewarded. Do the behavior, get rewarded, until